Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, New Year's Day pager call, we can't get into the building. Too many clicks to print. Why your PSU is failing within your warranty period. It helps when you plug it in. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. New Year's Day pager call, we can't get into the building. I do consulting tech support, usually systems admin type work, but in this business you will always be the IT guy no matter what you put in your scope of service. One of my clients, despite having a revenue stream of over $5 million a year, and around 40 employees, still won't invest in even an MSP. The owner either spends his time fixing IT issues, has one of his family do it, or expects employees to troubleshoot these problems. If all those support options fail, the overflow usually comes to my cell phone. That is what happened at 8 a.m. on New Year's Day. New Year's Day, around 9 a.m. Scene: the IT guy, me, was up late at a New Year's Eve party, outdoors, socially distanced, small, and responsible before the haters start chiming in here, and didn't get to bed until about 3 a.m. Although I am technically not on call, some of my clients will treat me as such, so when I do not want to be bugged I put my cell phone on silent, which is what happened before going to sleep. Around 9 a.m. I roll over and see my cell phone ringing. Don't think it much, probably junk, until then I notice there are 10 missed calls and 3 voicemails. Surprised, and hoping some tragedy had not befallen a friend last night, I check the calls. They are all from the business owner, and same with the voicemails. I go ahead and listen to one. Voicemail: Hey IT guy, I know it is New Year's Day, but my company is open. Sure, his employees love that fact, and we have lots of work to do. The first people to get to work though said the parking lot gate wouldn't open, and the front door card reader isn't responding. No one can get into the lot or the building. Nothing seems to be working. I went in through a window, and the power appears to be on. Can't figure it out and really could use you if you could come in ASAP. 3 years ago. Now let me rewind to about 3 years ago when I started working for this client. My first job was a few server upgrades. Simple stuff, but before getting into this I always like to do a review of systems. The network closet was, surprisingly, organized, and I was able to trace back everything except one older box on the rack. It had an IP but no documentation. Couldn't get into it any which way, and the owner's kid who was doing the IT stuff had no idea what it did. After doing about a day's worth of digging, we came up with some old manuals that suggested it was running all the building security systems, card readers, parking lot gates, security cams, etc., and we finally got into it by hooking up a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. No network access available. The login was still the default, which was in the old manual, and if the attached receipt was to be believed, it was purchased in the late 90s. I did some hunting, and it appeared to be connected to the internet and automatically updating. The last update ran a few years ago, but an internet search yielded very little on the brand name, model, etc. Other than some random discussion board conversations. Not wanting to go down a black hole, my inquiry ended there, and I made the recommendation to the owner to think about updating the system. It is a little foreshadowing here, but the email I got in response is paraphrased below. Owner: Hey IT guy, all the scope of work was approved with this note. I do not want to do anything with the security system. I had it installed when we moved into the building, and as long as it is working, spending any money on it is going to be a waste of money. The solution I proposed was around $5,000. Fine, then he decided to insert some unnecessary commentary. I understand this is how you guys make money, by selling unnecessary services, jacking up rates, and padding bills. I just want the services we talked about. Please restrict your work to the approved scope. If any work beyond that is performed, I will not pay you for it. Okay, something in my head says to update the scope to include something in the notes. Not responsible for, security system box with some identifying details. agrees to hold harmless for any work that might impact this system. Any work performed on security system will be by separate agreement, initial here. Owner signs updated scope of work and the job is booked. Back to present day. I am tired but figure might as well knock this out, so I call the owner. Owner, hey IT guy, thanks for calling back so soon. I got everyone in, but we have to leave the door hanging open and everyone is parked illegally on the street. My kid is out of town, and I really need someone to look into this ASAP. Me, after going over some basic questions, power on, check, internet working, check, etc. Okay, give me a few hours to get ready and head over there. It might be that old security system you remember we talked about a few years ago. Sounds like if other things are working it probably failed overnight. Owner, I don't remember anything about that, but whatever is wrong we need it fixed ASAP, and oh how much is this going to cost me? Me, I'll do it on my usual emergency hourly rate according to our agreement, which is about twice my normal rate, or if you prefer I can come in on Monday, and it will be the normal rate. Owner, grumbling audibly before answering, that is fine, just get here sometime this morning. Hangs up. Noon, New Year's Day. I'm in the network closet after finding a spare monitor, keyboard, and mouse. Hook up to the security system box and nothing. It does not even sound like it is running. Toggle the power switch on it and nada. It is dead. I go back to my notes and look up the name of the company that manufactured the system, finding an old news article about how they went bankrupt in 2010. Links to any support are all dead. Searches come up with a few older discussion threads on how similar devices have failed asking for help. Most useful response are the company is closed, support ended in 2016, and only way to keep it running was to find used components and perform a lot DIY. Owner, red-faced, obviously angry at dealing with angry employees and appearing hungover, so were you able to get it up and running? Me, no, the device is dead. It won't power on. Go on to explain the specifics to a very impatient owner. Owner, that is unacceptable. I need this up and running now. Can you restore a backup or something? Me, it is some kind of proprietary hardware, so even if I had a backup I would need a similar device to restore to it too, and those are not available commercially since the company is not longer in business. I could look at getting one online via eBay, but there is no guarantee that will even work. Owner, getting visibly annoying and increasingly angry at the situation. What do you mean? What am I going to do? I can't leave my front door open and the local cops are going to start ticketing my employees. My contracts require me to have these security features in place, or I am supposed to close. And if one of their auditors hears I am open with this system down, it will cost me big time. The downside to being a jerk boss is your employees have little incentive not to be a whistleblower. For brevity. Turns out the kind of work the owner does for his clients is highly sensitive, and they take security seriously. He shouldn't be open right now with these systems down, but he is taking a risk because of the holiday. Chances are real if someone blows the whistle, if he stays open with them down, that he could lose his whole contract or pay big fines, so a solution is necessary and time sensitive. After a few hours I work up to solution, while continuing to charge my emergency rate. Keep in mind we are right up against a weekend, and it is New Year's Day in the late afternoon. Option number 1, I tracked down a used device about a 6-hour drive away. The guy selling it actually responded to me, and is available for in-person pickup if I have cash. The box itself is several $1,000s, drive with reasonable stops is going to be 14 to 16 hours, and then probably another 5 to 10 to see if it can even get up and running. My quote for this is $30,000, non-negotiable, 10-hour max on trying to new box, hourly rate after that. I'm doing the drive as part of the job, full rate, because I want to make sure it works before purchase, and see if that tech has any inside knowledge on the system. Yes, I inflated my rate, but it is all weekend, emergency work, and the owner has annoyed me to no ends. Option number 2, a friend, who does security systems, comes in to scope the job for a new system. At overtime rates, he can rip out the old system and completely replace a new one that weekend. Means new everything. The old stuff is old and not compatible with any newer system. Also have to redo all the cabling, set up, migrate to new cards, and perform a bunch of admin work. It will take him and his crew all weekend, but he has the hardware in stock and can get it done. Bill about $100,000 for everything, including me helping at a nice rate and a little commission for the job. I present both options to the owner without recommendation, knowing he isn't going to pay attention to that anyhow. The decision. To my surprise, he is visibly agitated at the price tag for either option, and after trying to negotiate to which he finds both prices are firm. If he wants normal rates, his job goes into the same queue as the other work and gets done mid-month. Owner, let's do the second option. I can't risk this not working on Monday. I'll be on site all weekend in case you need anything and to make sure the job is done right. Too many clicks to print. This was only a couple years ago. I worked at a beer distributor and our POS, point of sale, warehouse guy was very tech challenged. Phone rings. Me, IT, can I help you? POS, yeah, I'm having trouble printing a spreadsheet. Can you come over and take a look? Me, sure, I'll be over in a minute. I make my way to Poe's desk. He's sitting, acting frustrated and in a huff. POS, big beer company have no idea what we have to go through to do their stupid audits. I don't have time to figure out how to print their GD spreadsheets and do inventory. They're a bunch of idiots. A little background, Poe's job is to track all the point-of-sale items that the beer company would send to us so in turn we could put out new draft handles in bars, mirrors, coasters, stand-up displays in stores, etc. He needed to record how many come in and went out and to where. So inventory once a month was mandatory, and it could get out of hand quickly if things weren't written down. He always seemed like a powder keg ready to explode, plus he was originally from Boston, and used his accent even more when stressed. Me, so what's the issue? POS, look. He hands me a printout of a spreadsheet, landscape, and the last row is cut off and prints on a separate page. POS, I can't do inventory like this. Me, here's a quick and simple way to fix this. I bring up the print settings and choose Fit Sheet on one page. I print the first page and it's all columns are on one piece of paper. The text was a little smaller, but overall it was readable. POS, what did you do? Me, I chose the setting right here, showing him on the print settings, and then print. POS, that's not going to work. Me, picking up the printout, here it is, it works. I know the text is a little smaller. POS, no, that's not how it should work. They send me the spreadsheet and it should fit already. I shouldn't have to do anything but hit print. Me, then you'll have to contact them. POS, are you kidding? Last time I had an issue it took 2 weeks for them to respond to me. No, it should just work. Me, until they get back to you, you can use this as your solution. POS, no. Me, no. It's one extra click. POS, that's one too many. I won't be able to remember to do that each month. Me, honestly trying to be helpful, look, I can write it down and even take some screenshots, then you can print it whenever you need to. POS, no, that's okay. I'm just going to print it out how they sent it to me, and I'll deal with the extra page. Too bad you couldn't fix it. I walked back to my desk. Just another day in desktop support bizarro world. Now I know what it means you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink comes from. Why your PSU is failing within your warranty period. I used to be working for a large Chinese manufacturer of computer cases and PSUs in Europe. When I received several complaints that the brand new PSU is not starting anymore, I started questioning our customers about their setup. pointing out that it could be that when the customer added more hardware the PSU could not provide sufficient power and would fail the boot power. Initially we just accepted the return and sending a brand new equal PSU. But after testing the PSUs afterwards we found that over 95% of the returned PSUs could boot a fully functioning rig. Meaning heavy-duty graphics card, several HDs, SSDs, even a digital currency mining rig, in case of a PSU with 1000 watt power. So I started a questionnaire which we send out to customers which they needed to fill in and return to us before we would grant them an RMA. All the customers had one thing in common. All those who had failed PSUs within the warranty period used the new Asus boards, specific for overclocking digitally. Now I am not an electrical engineer, but I think that the strict boot timing on those boards will cause the boot time to fail with the aging PSUs of this Chinese brand. PSUs as far as I know are still mainly analog devices. So the older they get the slower response they give to the boot sequence, hence the Asus board will tell that the boot sequence, which has a response time limit, failed and won't start up. Many customers then tried a brand new PSU from us or other vendors straight from the box. And see it works, so it is our fault, the PSU is not working. After we started refusing the return of the fake failing PSUs and telling the customer to try the failing PSU with another motherboard manufacturer which do not have digitally set a boot response time, we received positive feedback that the PSU indeed still worked. I sent a message to the general manager about my findings with the suggestion that they should change the way the PSU is built and or contact Asus about their boot timing. Never heard anything back from them. Management, that is, since the customer needs to pay for the retouring of the PSU to us from anywhere in Europe and the manufacturer pays the shipping fees to the customer, my investigation saved the customer and us the sending fees. Because when we receive a PSU it will be checked if the complaint is correct. If not, and after a day of testing with benchmarks the PSU is working, we will send the PSU back, because no fault could be discovered. With the upfront questionnaire we could already suggest steps the customer could perform to see if it really is the PSU or his other equipment was at fault. It helps when you plug it in. I worked at a small company that was acquired by an even smaller company. On the day the acquisition became legal, a team of IT folks from the company showed up at our HQ to help us get linked into their systems. Telephony people, networking people, system admins. And one email admin, because, it turned out, they used an out-of-date email system that most of us had never even heard of. I spent the day bouncing between teams answering questions about our side of everything. The email guy was pretty easy to deal with. They had a pre-built server that just needed to get plugged in, and it would do whatever it was supposed to be doing. They brought a tower server, that had to sit on a workspace normally used as a desktop computer imaging area, a long desk along the wall of our data center. Told him where to find the pile of network cables, switches in the rack to the right of the desk, bottom thing in the rack. Your port 5. Power is along the wall, and there's no redundant power by the desk. So that sucks if you've got dual power supplies. An hour or so into the day, he came out to say he couldn't get on the network. I checked the switch port and verified it was set correctly and noted the port didn't show an active link. I asked him to check to make sure the server was plugged in and had a link light. He disappeared for a bit. When he returned, he said it was all hooked up fine. He also mentioned that he could call some coworkers to get it sorted. Score. Do that. He came back to me a few hours later and still hadn't been able to get online. Switch still showed no link, so I suggested he try a different cable. And, if that didn't get him anywhere, we've got some server network cards in storage that he could try out. I went back to moving between teams and didn't encounter him for a few more hours. Still no network, and it was becoming a drop everything and get this fixed priority. I walked into the server room. No link light on the back of the server, but the cable was plugged in. I followed the cable to a big mass of network cable spaghetti sitting on the desk. Seemed odd that he wouldn't have pulled the cable out of the mess. I kept following the cable and found myself holding the other end of the cable. When I say plug it in, you do realize I mean both ends, right? Evidently dude had tried 4 or 5 different ends extracted from a massive cable sitting on a desk and somehow thought they'd magically get themselves plugged into the right switch port.